Hi, I'm Kassy, and this is the Spark Connect, a podcast about what brings us to life: connection, creativity, courage, and the moments that spark real change. I'll be your host, bringing my experience as a speaker, consultant, and lifelong believer in showing up as your full self. In this series, Arts and Facilitation, you'll hear from inspiring voices, facilitators, trainers, speakers, and everyday humans who are also artists, lighting up the world in their own unique, creative ways. This is your space to reflect, reset, and reignite, because the spark is already in you. Let's light it up. You're about to meet Karin Rex, known to many as Geeky Girl Rex, an instructional designer, musician, and one of my longtime friends and mentors and just all-around favorite people in the whole world. She's the person who can make you laugh, teach you something brilliant, and quietly remind you to breathe, all in the same moment. In this conversation, Karin opens up about being an introvert who performs, proving that presence isn't about volume, it's about intention. She talks about the power of silence, how to recover from mistakes, and why improvisation is the secret to both great facilitation and great music. We also dig into how audiences have changed post-pandemic and how creativity helps us keep finding our rhythm. As Karin says, the silences are very important to hold. And after hearing her, you'll realize that sometimes the quietest moments hit the loudest notes. Oh my gosh, today couldn't come fast enough. Karin Rex is here in the podcast house. Yay. All right. Karin, I am so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Just can't wait for people to meet you and learn more about you. You've been such a light and a joy in my life for many, many years. And I just can't wait to what we're going to get into. So without further ado, please tell us who you are and what's your brand of artistry.
I am known as Geeky Girl Rex. Geeky Girl because I love all things tech and tools. And that's how I started in facilitation, was my love of software, believe it or not. I'm an instructional designer. I'm an author. I'm a facilitator. I'm a piano player. I'm a bass player. I'm a guitar player. I used to play flute and bassoon. I've even tried a little ukulele from time to time. If it seems as though you're looking at me and saying, oh, that's Karin Rex, she is a definite extrovert, you'd be wrong. I am a definite introvert. So I don't know how I got into these fields and why I do what I do, but it just seemed like a natural fit.
That's incredible. It's so, do you know how many musicians I have met that are also introverts?
Absolutely.
You do, because one of them, you are one of them.
Yeah. And people always try to argue with me that I'm not, but I really am. The whole difference between introversion and extroversion is the energy it zaps. And, you know, if I sing in a concert, I am exhausted afterwards.
Are you exhausted when you're teaching classes? Like after you've taught a class, is that just like singing in the band?
I am. I'm exhausted after it. It takes a lot of energy, so I need a lot of alone time to recoup that energy. So to me, that's the difference between being an introvert and being an extrovert. A true extrovert will get, like my brother, who was a lifelong musician. He was a true extrovert because he would be the one after the gig who could not get to sleep, who would go till 2, 3, 4 in the morning and go play with his other friends who came to see the gig, play more music. You know, he had this energy about him that just wouldn't stop. For me, the minute the concert's over, I don't even want to go out for a drink. I just want to go home.
You know, I'm actually a little like that too. I've always identified as an extrovert, but I don't know if it's because I'm just getting older or what it is, but I would say the last decade, I'm a big fan of escapism. I like to hide my nose in the books or on the Netflix series, whatever it may be. And I don't want to talk at all. I just want to completely zone. I don't want to think and I don't want to talk.
I
talk
really
for a
don't
living.
want to talk. Yeah, and it's so hard on John sometimes, my husband. Like if I'm teaching an all-day class, which I really hate teaching an all-day class anyway, but at the end of the day, dinner is silent because I'm like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. He gets very frustrated with me sometimes because of that.
Listen, I get it. Wait, I have to ask. So you didn't mention anything about the punk band that you used to be a part of, right? Because let's just put that out there too, that
Yes.
specific genre. Tell us a little bit about that. Did you play bass in the punk band?
I did. I played bass in a punk rock group. We were called Academic Disturbance.
Long
It was
before Disturbed came along, right?
Yeah, it was in college, so it was like, God, a long time ago. And it's really funny. The name was great. At the time, back in the 80s, punk bands all made buttons, right? You know, little buttons like this that you would
Yeah.
put on your jean jacket,
And your jean
etc.
jacket that had patches, and then
Exactly.
it got made fun of as flair. Fast forward to The Office, right?
Exactly.
Office Space. Yeah.
Well, the person who made our buttons, my friend Francis, misspelled disturbance. So we were known as academic disturbance.
Oh no, even better. Do you have any of those buttons still?
I would kill if I would find one of those now, but no, I
Do you
don't.
ever
I
search on
was
eBay for one? I want one
I
now.
well, I was also in a band called the Cheese Dogs.
Was that one also punk?
Yeah, it was also punk. I didn't play bass in that one though. Did I? I can't remember. I don't know. I started playing bass because they didn't need a guitar player. I played guitar, I played piano all my life, a classical piano as a kid, sang in choirs all my life. As I said, my brother was a professional musician, 8 years older than me. So, I really wanted to emulate what he did, but he was a natural performer. It came so easy for him and he was so energetic about it. My parents were both performers too. My mom could play piano beautifully by ear. She could not read a lick of music. When she sat down, man, you just like wanted to get comfy and be in a soft seat and listen to her play because she had such a great touch. My dad was also a musician. He played country western guitar, and my uncle was a yodeler,
I
of all
love all
things.
that. Oh, I love that. That's my favorite. Country western, steel guitar, western swing, bluegrass. I am here for it. And whenever we do karaoke, Loretta Lynn, I am all about the country stuff. That's where I always lean.
Really, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Um, you ain't woman enough to take my man.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Mine is "You're So Vain" for some reason.
I love that too. Yeah.
I just love Carly Simon, and that to me, that's just such an angry song. It's
Yeah.
great.
It's part of that punk.
Yeah, it is a punk mechanism for sure. I don't know. It was the 80s. Punk was very, very in, and Joe Jackson and The Clash, and even The Who. We played The Who also. So it was just a way to get energy out and have a lot of fun. Um, I loved it. I loved it.
So you're definitely an artist who found facilitation, not a trainer who found art.
Absolutely. And I'm one of those quick studies too. Like back in high school, I joined the marching band. I didn't play an instrument, by the way, at that time, but I joined the marching band because I like the uniforms. Talk about
They had the best
geeky.
uniforms. Come
The
on.
best. I mean, the hats with the big
Listen,
feathers. I loved it.
the best. And like, come on, you could play the triangle, right? I think I remember asking, "Can I just play the triangle,
Ding!
please?"
I always wanted to play the big bass drum.
Yeah.
But no, the director of the band knew I played piano. So what he ended up doing was whatever instrument he needed, he would give to me because I was a quick study because I could already read music. So in marching band, I played baritone horn, believe it or not, which looks like a little tuba. And then he needed a bassoon player of all things for the wind ensemble. So I took up the bassoon because he happened to have one and I learned it and I loved it. It was just such a cool instrument, so haunting,
Yeah.
very dramatic.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Just perfect. Would you say that you have such a rich and deep history with music, not only with yourself but with your family and just your whole life influenced by the notes, and the sounds of life? How much of this influences the work that you do, and in what ways does it?
Well, it's kind of a paradox, Cassie. Music, sort of like facilitation, both of those things require you to be simultaneously in control, of course, but also vulnerable. You know that in both cases too, some of the most powerful moments that you have when you're playing music, as with, and this is something you taught me as a facilitator, the silences are very important. To hold those silences, to guard those silences, to not fill every silence. A good musician knows to do that, and a good facilitator knows to do that, I think.
Wow. And in what ways does it play out for, like you said, a good musician knows that? And so where would be an example of where that would play?
Think about when you're facilitating. Are there times when you, as a facilitator, can sense when you need to slow your tempo? Are there
Mhm.
times when you need to maybe change keys?
Mhm.
Are there times when, and this is one of the favorite things you've ever taught me, what am I doing that my learners could be doing? Or what am I saying that my learners could be saying, right?
Mhm.
As a musician, you're asking yourself the same question because you're constantly reading all of the micro adjustments in their faces, you
Wow.
know? And sometimes in a class, audience participation can really get you over the hump. And also with music, audience participation, there's nothing better when a group of people want to sing along with you out in the
I
audience.
see.
Love it. Love that. When we sing, I sing in a chorus, and we just did a July 4th concert a few months ago, and we had kazoos.
I love it.
It was like a little surprise during one of the songs. Well, we didn't know this, but well, we did sort of know this. We didn't anticipate it though. We always do that little surprise with the kazoos. So the director had actually given out kazoos to those in the audience and they played along. It was hilarious.
Great.
I
I
loved it.
I wanna move and live by you just to be in the choir with you and learn how to be in a choir again. I did that when I was young as well, and I always wish that I had followed through with it because I like, in another world, like in a, you know, parallel universe, I'm absolutely a singer. I'm absolutely.
Well, I've always loved your speaking voice, so I can imagine what your singing voice sounds like.
It's completely untrained. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. It's often very flat, but when I hit it, I can hit it and it's beautiful. I just know it's
That's great.
there.
We have to do karaoke one day. Next time.
Yeah. I get very, very scared. You and I were talking a little bit about stage fright, and I have stage fright every single time. I have stage fright today interviewing you. Come on, I have it all the time. I'm not even going to hide it. I live with it, and I'm very drawn to what's the woman who the author that we love. She wrote a letter to fear. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Anne Lamott,
No, Eat, Pray, Love.
her, I can't think of her name
I know. Why is
either.
her name like right on the tip of my tongue right now? I just saw her come through my feed recently. But I love, we'll have to find it for the show notes. It's on YouTube. She has written a letter to fear and she's like, listen, you're along for the ride, you're not driving. And I love that. I have to remind myself it's part of life. Fear is part of life. It doesn't have to be in control.
This is true.
It's like that is a mantra that I have to live by every day. So let's talk about stage fright for a moment. And you've shared this with me before that you get it too. You're relating to me
Always.
right now.
Actually, in a logical way, in a logical basis, I feel like we might fall flat in our performances, whether they're with music or in a classroom, if we didn't have stage fright. Standing in front of a room trying to teach adults something new is kind of like being on stage with a bunch of musicians that maybe you have never played with before. Everybody's got their own tempo, their own style. I'm trying to read the room when I'm teaching. I'm trying to read the room fast enough to keep us all pursuing the same rhythm or song, if you will. But my stage fright was a whole nother level. I remember very distinctly sophomore year in high school at the talent show. There I was, moved out, big old grand piano, big black grand piano, spotlight on me on the stage. It's just me and that piano, and there's my fingers dancing across the keys. I was playing the entertainer, and I felt like, man, I think I probably drove my parents crazy because I probably played it 3 million times the week before the concert. And, I started off and it's a fun song. Ba-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. I was in the zone. And then all of a sudden, nothing. I mean, nothing. Complete blank. My hands froze mid phrase. It was like getting somebody hit the pause button in my brain or something. But here's the interesting thing about what happened. Your muscle memory takes over, right? So I did what probably any panicked teenager would do in my head. And I sat, my father always reminded me of this. He goes, "You did not move a muscle. I don't even think you blinked or breathed." But what I did was I stopped. I went back to the beginning of the song in my head, not with my hands, in my head. I played through everything I already performed silently. And then when I found my place again, I jumped back in exactly where I left off.
Gosh, how long would you say that was? How long of a moment are we talking about?
Well, for me, I thought it was like realistically 45 seconds. But for everybody else who talked to me afterwards, they thought it was an artistic choice that I had made,
That's
which I
amazing.
thought was hilarious.
It's amazing. You know what you did? You decided to be silent for a moment.
Yeah. Well, and it happens when you're training too. Fast forward, I'm facilitating a leadership workshop with this woman, Roz, who I really looked up to. And we're really deeply, it was her program, but I was co-facilitating with her. And I'm deep into this really complex exercise about team dynamics. And suddenly I realized nothing again. It's almost like someone pressed pause. And it happens to me. I have to admit to this. Happens to me usually at least once in every time I train.
Yeah.
Something where I just lose track of what I'm doing. But again, during that training session, I stopped, I breathed, and I took myself through it. I said, okay, we talked about this, it was that mental rewind. We
Yeah.
talked about communication styles, then we talked about trust exercise. Then Raj shared that story. Oh, and suddenly I could actually figure out where I needed to be. So I jumped back in with sort of a connecting question to Roz. So threw the ball to her. She picked it up. And the cool thing was, just like with the musical performance that people thought I made an artistic thought, I think that silence, which I know seemed like a long time to me and a short time to the audience, but that silence made it better. I think it made the experience better. And that's when I realized that like music and facilitation are about recovery as much as they are about a performance. I
Yeah.
mean, because you've admitted this, that sick feeling you get when you wonder right before you go into a training session. You wonder, did I forget everything I have ever known? Right?
I remember laughing in the beginning of virtual days of having to introduce yourself on camera. And I'm like, I forgot my name and I don't
Yes.
remember the topic. And I have no idea where I live either.
Yeah.
But hi, everybody.
But then what does it come down to? It's all that prep, right? It comes down to the prep of trusting yourself. Just like my fingers, I had to trust my fingers. I also have to trust my content.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. Like, do you think that all of your training as a musician then is what is impacting that? Like you learned that by the process of learning music. Do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Musicians fear hitting the wrong note the way trainers fear asking the wrong question,
Saying the
you
wrong
know,
thing or not
or
knowing the answer.
saying the wrong thing or not knowing the answer. You're wondering, will the audience notice?
Hmm.
Will they forgive? Will they remember? Miles Davis and my husband John taught me this. He's a musician too, my husband. So Miles Davis said something like, "It's it's not the note you play that's the wrong note. It's the note you play afterwards that makes it right or wrong." And what that does is it shows you improvisation, just like with jazz, improvisation with facilitation is all about how you respond to a perceived error, a perceived mistake.
Right. Yeah. How you work through it. It's not what happened. It's how you responded to what
Exactly.
happened and what you did with it. It's that, and
Exactly.
that's the performance angle and the training that you have as a musician, as a performer, has built that strength, which is translated into resilience, flexibility. The ability to read the audience and then not only read it but respond to it and to yourself as well.
Can I curse on here? And we can always cut it off, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a line from I Love Actually that I just actually love.
Yeah.
So, the new prime minister is walking into his brand new house and he meets the housekeeper. I don't know whether it's the housekeeper, but one of the staff members. And she actually, she says, "Oh, accidentally." And then she goes, "Oh God, I knew I was going to. Oh, there, I've said it again." It's like, it just it just cracks me up. Sometimes I feel that way in front of a class. Like, for example, trying to teach a class on inclusive writing, you have to talk about some very delicate
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And you don't want to step on somebody's toes and say the wrong thing or call them the wrong pronoun or make fun of people calling and using different pronouns. Like, you want to avoid all that. So
Right. That's like you're teaching how to be inclusive, but are you being inclusive in the way that you're teaching about being inclusive? I'm probably not. I'm probably not being inclusive right now. I got to teach about being inclusive.
exactly. That's exactly me. And it's wild. This is wild. Whether I'm about to sing a song in front of hundreds of people or facilitate a workshop full of adult learners, it all comes down to the same thing. Trusting yourself and breathing. Breath in music is important. Breath is your timing, breath is your phrasing, breath is your connection to the audience, to building that emotion that you want to build, right? And facilitation,
Brain.
same damn thing. The way
Sort
you
through your.
breathe into a room, the pauses you create, the rhythm you establish, the way you use your voice. And quite honestly, Kassy, many, many years ago, I took that class with you, and it was your voice that taught me how to use my voice better.
Oh,
It's all music, and I think talking in front of adult learners, it's music.
it is music. But have we ever, like, would this be the interview? If you look back over your career and you're getting hired, where you're like, I'm a musician and I proudly bring to the table the following ways and things that you and I have just discussed, and this is why you should hire me. They'd be like, next.
Yeah.
What is she talking about right about
Yeah.
now? Like it's not something that we would have necessarily proudly worn as a badge with the plume on the top, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why we've had to hide it. Would you say that's been your experience too? Not hide it, but not display it. Not lead with it.
No, there's something to be said about admitting that you're nervous. I mean, I, I feel as though sometimes pre-show stage fright, like pre-training jitters, they both share that same paradox, that cruel irony. Because the more you care about doing well, the more your nerves try to absolutely attack and sabotage you. And I'm sort of only now, becoming more comfortable with people realizing that, yes, I've got a severe case of the nerves because I care
Yeah, I
and
know.
I want to do well.
Yeah, I know, and sometimes for me, like, cause people will say that they're like, why do you do it if you're so nervous about it? And then I say, well, the nerves are strong, but what is stronger is the misery of not doing it if I sit in the audience.
That's a really good point.
It's stronger. I'm more miserable having not tried, and I'm bummed with myself. That's a stronger feeling than the nerves. So I prefer to work through those nerves, which also leads me to a very important thing that I've learned in the last couple of years. I think I've known it, but I've really been focused on it. It was sort of drilled into me that you can either be a performer or you can be a critic, but you may not be both.
Interesting.
And I learned that when I went to some training at Heroic Public Speaking, and they were talking about like how we're going to support each other in the environment of learning to perform, and that oftentimes also to recognize that the biggest critic is oneself. And you're either going to try or you're going to critique. Nobody gets up in front of a group of people saying, I really hope that I fail today.
Wow. I'm going to write that down later because I would like to read that quote to myself before every time I teach or play music.
And when you're with others and among others, like the people that are in front of you, how can I be where it's big time played out for me is because A, I'm a big critic of myself, but then B, how can I support others, other speakers, other presenters, other trainers? How can I support them? Because they're not up there trying to fail. And I'm never going to be the critic for anybody. If I am in your audience, I am not your critic. As a fellow performer, I am here to help support you perform.
That's a really good point, Kassy.
And it's such
Really
a
good
beautiful
point.
thing. It's actually part of why I want to do this podcast, to help all of us continue to perform as we do and to see you and to know you, because we are better together. We are so strong and brilliant and wonderful together. And we criticize ourselves, we criticize one another in this day and age way too much. And I'm a big I do it to myself deeply, and I work on it every day. You know, how many times have I texted you? Wah, wah, wah.
Well, it's also interesting. I feel like audiences have changed for facilitation. Audiences have changed since the pandemic.
In what way?
Well, like you, for probably the past 15 of the 30 years I've been in learning and development, I've really focused on virtual training. And I feel as though during the pandemic, people got really lax about how to behave in a formal training program. And they're missing the cues of what it's like to be a polite audience member.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The feedback that I get now has a different edge to it sometimes than the feedback I received on facilitation pre-pandemic.
Yeah, that's
Feels
interesting.
different.
It's harsher.
Yes, it's pickier.
Maybe people are just so
It's more
uncomfortable.
personal.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. I know maybe this is why that's resonated so strongly with me too, when I learned that you can either be a performer or a critic, but you may not be both. I just find it so interesting, Even if I go to a training or something and I don't technically learn a new thing, which I believe that's a choice, by the way, I am going to find something to learn, or I'm going to find something to note that did work. And that is where I'm going to focus my energy. Because why not? To what end? That's my other question. To what end? To focus elsewhere. Did anyone wake up that morning and decide I'm going to do a really bad job when I stand up in front of this group of people today?
Yeah. There's a real difference between learning and talking too. It's
Mm.
sort of the same difference there is between noise and music. It's the intention, right?
What made you think of that just now? That's so interesting.
I don't know. It just sort of came out of the blue with me. But like when you talk about going someplace in anticipation of learning and not learning anything,
Mm.
it is a choice. It is a choice. And I think sometimes the difference between noise and music is intention. I mean, if you think about some of the people, I don't know, Philip Glass, like, is that music or is that noise?
Yeah.
Laurie Anderson, is it
Is it
music?
in
Is
the
it
ear
noise?
of the beholder?
In the ear, yes, of the listener. I don't know.
Of
We
the listener.
have
Yeah.
to have a new thing.
The ear of the listener. I
I
love
love
it.
it. That's a great quote.
It's all yours. That's great. Yeah, because how much of that, how much of noise is subjective, and
Yes.
and how much of one person speaking and an attendee saying that was just nothing but a talking, where another person might have been like, they finally lectured exactly what I needed.
Exactly.
That's a
It's
different angle.
definitely in the ear of the listener, for sure.
As I think about all the times that you and I have spent together, we've known each other many, many years, Karin. And as I said, you have influenced and supported me throughout my whole career in such wonderful, wonderful ways. And we've had the great opportunity too to work together in delivering sessions. And I just wonder how much of a dance we've created with one another through the music that is the facilitation between K and K, right?
I think we harmonize rather well, Cassie.
I agree. I'm always
I
drawn to you.
Here's what I know after years of making music and making meaning, let's call it, with adult learners. I think, and tell me if you agree, I think they both leave echoes. Sometimes you leave a concert humming a melody that you cannot get rid of. Sometimes our learners leave a workshop kind of carrying, like you just mentioned, a new way of looking at something, right? A new way of thinking about an old problem. And the mission between the musician and the facilitator sort of is the same. You want to help people discover they're capable of learning something new or hearing something beautiful. But at the end of the day, when I'm sitting in my choir or playing in an orchestra or standing in front of a workshop, it's all going to come down to this. I'm not doing it alone. The best performances happen when I trust the people around me. When I'm singing in a chorus, if I can hear my own voice, that's not good. What you try to do when you're singing in a chorus or choir is you want to hear everybody all at once. It's that harmony. And the most breathtaking musical performances will happen when every musician around you is trusting the process, trusting others to take the risks, trusting others to be vulnerable, trusting others to play their part, but yet remain connected to the whole, right? And I think learning, the most transformational learning, probably happens exactly the same way. I mean, think about our approach. When we have a group of people, we're trying to make them feel comfortable. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be able to contribute their unique voice, right? Our participants. So they become part of, they are harmonizing with you, the facilitator. It's all part of that collective discovery. You're not a one person show.
It isn't. As the way that you are so beautifully describing a learning experience just now, would you have some advice for facilitators, for trainers who are listening that want to infuse more creativity into their practice or into their delivery? What advice would you have for them to get to this level? Because you've just described something so musical and beautiful about how you create a learning experience. So what advice would you have for people who are looking for ways to get more creativity in their delivery?
You know, when you play a piece of music, you can play it without any feeling, without any soul, without any emotion. It can be flat, but it's not going to be flat if you care, if you bring yourself into that performance, if you don't just play the notes, but listen to the silence between the notes. The rests are just as important as the notes. And I think in facilitation, if you want to be able to, in jazz, they call it comping. It stands for compliment. You want to compliment what others are playing. Well, as a facilitator, you want to compliment what others are learning. When somebody asks a question, maybe they're not asking the right question. So you comp them, you complement their question by rephrasing it in a way that then everyone will be able to resonate
Mm,
around. So just be flexible
yeah,
and meet your learners where they are.
really love this. I love the concept of complimenting.
Yeah, comping. They call it comping.
Comping, which comes from compliment, but it's like a lot of times people who are especially newer to training and facilitation, they'll be worried, what if I don't know the answer?
Yes.
So, I think this is an excellent piece of advice for how to manage that. Ask for clarification, live in the silence for a moment, invite others to contribute. In what way can we complement this moment and allow this moment to be? Because it has been my experience throughout my career that the attendees don't necessarily expect me to have the answer. They just need the answer for themselves. They don't necessarily expect me to know every single thing. They don't. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to feel that they are valued. And and I think it's my job to create moments where we can make that happen. It's not necessarily that I know that the answer is this.
Yes. And as a card carrying member of the over preparers club, that really rankles me sometimes because I always feel like I over prep because I need to know 200% of the content. I need to know the content I'm teaching, and then I need to know all of this other content, the other 100% content that's out there, so I can answer every question. But obviously, you don't. People don't expect you to know the answer to every question. They do like it when you follow up with an answer once you find it, though.
Yeah, or if we crowdsource it in some way, or, people just, again, you make them feel seen and heard. They're like, oh, wow. And they enjoy being a part of the whole process. If you can just recognize them and let it be known.
Yes, absolutely.
I think coming up in the tech world, I've had to lean into I'm not going to know the answer because just the very beginning of my training career was we didn't even know what we were doing or how it was working, but it was my job to teach you. I'm like, hi, everybody. We're in a WebEx. I don't know what WebEx is, but let's make it work. They told me it works like this, So I learned it one moment before you. So let's guide through it together and figure it out. Who knows what the future holds. I could talk to you all day. I have a question for you, though. I was wondering, we are trainers. After all, we like teaching people stuff. Is there anything that you could teach us today that is part of your process, especially as a musician, if there's something that comes from that. I feel like we've already learned a few of those things, but is there something you could teach us today that maybe we could use the next time that we prepare or to deliver a training or presentation?
Could teach you how to permanently always remember the difference between Disney World and Disneyland.
Interesting. Okay. And then you got to tell us how this matters for when we're teaching a class too.
I will.
I want to know this answer actually. Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking, do I know? I think I know the difference. But tell me, yeah, what's the surefire way?
If you were to write Disney World down and Disneyland down, I would want you to pay attention to the ORL in the word world, ORL, Orlando, Florida, and Disneyland, LA, in land, LA, Los Angeles. The reason I bring that up is because sometimes we can make small little adjustments like that and teach people things using simple tools like an acronym or a saying or a keyword or phrase that we deliberately use over and over again. If you go back in your brain and you think about mathematical order of operations, how are you at math, Cassie?
Pretty good when it's applied to shopping and how I'm going to get the right price.
That's diner math, and I'm really good at that too. But do you remember the mathematical order of operations at all?
I think as soon as you tell me, I'll be like, oh, yes, I know it. But I'm having stage fright right this moment.
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Yeah, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's right.
Why don't we teach people, why don't we give adult learners chances to learn things like that? It's like the difference between Disney World and Disneyland is in the spelling of the names. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is a sentence used to remember parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction.
Yeah.
So that's something that musicians do all the time too. I mean, when we're reading notes, we have face, FACE. We have every good boy deserves favor. I think that little tricks like that can really make a difference to our adult learners if we give them the opportunity to want to memorize something instantly like that. Anyway, I just threw it out there. And the reason why I want to teach you that is because I live 8 miles as the crow flies from Cinderella's castle here in Orlando. So
I love it so much. And I never knew it. I never knew that. That's so interesting. And it's so obvious. And I will never, ever forget it. It's like, how can we find, which is an old school trick, if you will, from music. It goes back to the beginning of time that we've been doing those types of things. And in some ways, why have we gotten away from such things?
Yes.
Why have we? I remember in the beginning of my career in the late 90s, teaching people how to use computers. It was mid 90s in this particular case, though. Late 90s would have been my virtual career. But teaching people about computers, and it was like long before everything was online, teaching the folders, files, and drives, right? The drive, the C drive, the folders, and the files. Do you know this too? It's the backpack, the wallet, and the dollar.
No, I never heard that before.
Isn't it as cute as can be? I mean, we hardly have those things now. Like, what's a dollar? I don't know. I just use my debit card, but like, or I just know the number at this point. But the backpack, the wallet, or the purse, right? And then the dollar. And then, so the dollar's the file, right? The wallet is the folder. The backpack is the drive.
Yes. Analogies, acronyms, memory sentences. By the way, medical students memorize entire body systems using sentences too. So it is out there and used in academia, but it's not really used a lot in adult learning.
Yeah. I don't know why we got away from it, because in the early part of my career, I remember using a lot of them. So now I'm going to want to go find a list and be like, where are those? By the way, it's Elizabeth Gilbert. That's the author.
Yes.
These memory things we just brought that back for me. What are you working on of late, Karin? What are some of the exciting projects that you're working on right now and the things that you're doing?
Right now, I'm working on a large project for a new client that involves using Articulate Rise. So it's e-learning and it's medical in nature, lots of case studies, and I am striving to make what essentially is a lot of text more interesting. So I'm using a new tool called Mighty, which is out there by Maestro, which is a Chrome add-in for articulate rise. So I'm doing that. Also teaching a bunch of classes for ATD, prepping for some conferences coming up. What's the next one? Is it training in February? No, it's Core 4 in September. Yeah.
So how can people get in touch with you, Karin? How can they connect with you, and where will they find you around these internets?
Best place to reach me was probably via LinkedIn. I mean, that's sort of my home base these days. I do have a website. It's www.karinrex.com, but mostly I hang out on LinkedIn.
It's such a pleasure and a joy to be with you, always inspiring the world with beautiful words. And when I think about you're working through all of these case studies, it is what you do. You tell stories with data, and you
You
teach
know,
us how to do that.
I was just going to say, you and I never brought up the idea of one of the primary things I teach, which is storytelling with data. I got to tell you, that topic really relates well to music as well.
It sure
So
does. I
it
feel
does.
like our whole time together today has been a story of your life and how music is woven through the moments of your life that include your corporate life as well.
Good point.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much for everything that you shared today, and for the inspiration too.
That's your spark. Now go light something up. And hey, if this episode lit you up, share it with a friend, a fellow facilitator, or someone who needs a little more connection in their day. Be sure to follow the Spark Konnect so you don't miss what's next. We've got more brilliant voices, bold ideas, and heart-forward conversations coming your way. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep showing up.